Hello everyone, today we are going to learn about the tracheoesophageal abnormalities, its pathogenesis, how many types of tracheoesophageal abnormalities are present, and what are the clinical features associated with those types. So tracheoesophageal abnormalities are congenital anomalies of our development, and we know that trachea and esophagus are developed from foregut. So let's draw a foregut here. And from foregut, there develops a lung bud, which eventually give rise to a trachea and respiratory tract. And this red portion is our foregut, which give rise to esophagus. And from there protrudes a lung bud. This greenhouse is our lung bud. And this green bud eventually give rise to a trachea and lungs. When these lung buds appears, after some times of development, there a septum occurs. This septum is called tracheoesophageal septum, and this tracheoesophageal septum divides the lung bud from foregut. The tracheoesophageal septum originates in this line and divides the two structure into separate. So there is our lung bud. This eventually gives rise to the trachea, and here this red, it is our foregut derivatives, and this eventually gives rise to our esophagus. And this is the occurrence of normal tracheoesophageal septum. And if this occurs normally, it gives rise to normal positions trachea and normally positions esophagus. So here we draw the normal. So it will give rise to the trachea. Here is our trachea. And the red structure, which is a part of foregut, it will give rise to our esophagus, which is just posterior to our trachea, and it is the normal relationship. But what happens if the tracheoesophageal septums that is presented in black dotted line here, if tracheoesophageal septum doesn't develop normally, what will be the effects and what will be the anomaly and what will be the clinical feature we will discuss in this module. So let's go to our abnormal tracheoesophageal septum. Abnormality of tracheoesophageal septum. This is abnormality associated with tracheoesophageal septum development. This was our foregut, and from there our lung bud originates. What happens if no tracheoesophageal septum originates? If there is no tracheoesophageal septum develops, what will be the effect? Then this lung bud will always remain attached with the foregut derivatives. So how this will eventually lead to the formation of this lung bud will lead to the formation of this trachea. And look here, the trachea is always attached with our red portioned esophagus. So their esophagus will have an opening here, and ultimately the esophagus will form. So this type of tracheoesophageal abnormalities, this is called H type. This is called H type tracheoesophageal abnormalities. And this H type, it is also called pure tracheoesophageal fistula. So we can see that here is a fistula present that can, there is a fistula present. So it is called pure tracheoesophageal fistula. It is our first condition. And in the second, this is our normal foregut. and our lung bud is present in front of our foregut. What happens if our normal tracheoesophageal fistula develops here before the position where lung bud is attached with the foregut? Before this position, what if our tracheoesophageal septum develops in this line? So we can see this lead to a structure like this. This green portion will be ultimately converted into a trachea. So here we draw our trachea, and as there is it is the cleavage line, esophageal, there will be a blind pouch here, and the lower part it attached with the lung bud, so lower bud will originate from this esophagus. This esophagus has a blind opening here, so this is called pure esophageal atresia. This is pure esophageal atresia, and there is a fistula between the esophagus and trachea. So it has also a tracheoesophageal fistula. This combination has both pure esophageal atresia and tracheoesophageal fistula, and it is the most common type. This is the most common type of tracheoesophageal abnormalities. And here we go to our third abnormality, third condition. There is our normal foregut derivatives, and from here our lung bud originates. What happens if our tracheoesophageal fistula develops along this line? Here is one tracheoesophageal septum, and there is another tracheoesophageal septum here. So we can see this lung bud is detached from our foregut derivatives. So there will be like this. This is our, will be like this. This is our lung bud. It will eventually give rise to a trachea, and our esophagus has cut down into these two segments. Lower part is not attached with the trachea or lung bud here. So this will give rise to a structure like this. So here we draw the trachea, that is derivative from here. Trachea that is totally intact, and these two foregut derivatives behind the trachea, and each part is closed. So this is the third type. This is called pure esophageal atresia. Both esophagia, both end of the esophagus has atresia. So this is called pure esophageal atresia. Now we draw these three types in separate diagram to learn what is the clinical symptoms associated with these types. So our first, so here we have drawn our three types of tracheoesophageal abnormalities. First one is H type, or pure tracheoesophageal fistula. There is fistula present between the esophagus and trachea. The second type, it has a esophageal atresia and a tracheoesophageal fistula that is present between the esophagus and fistula, and we know it is our most common type of tracheoesophageal abnormality. And third type, it is the pure esophageal atresia. We can see that both end of our esophagus has atresia. So what will be the clinical effects associated with that? First of all, let's look our pure esophageal atresia type. So For this, we can say if when a baby has this type of abnormality, they cannot swallow their amniotic fluid. So they usually present polyhydramnios. Polyhydramnios. And when these babies are born, if they are first feed, they cannot they pass their feed into their stomach because this end has atresia. So they start vomiting on their first meal. So vomiting on first meal, because vomiting. And if we want to pass a nasogastric tube through their esophagus, we cannot do this because their end is closed because it has atresia. So nasogastric tube can't pass through their esophagus. And we can also say that stomach will be empty because no food can, or no air or no food, nothing can pass to their stomach. So they have an empty stomach, empty stomach. Now come to this type, esophageal atresia with tracheoesophageal fistula. That is the most common type. Here the story is same. This baby cannot swallow its amniotic fluid. So in utero, this baby will develop polyhydramnios, and as this baby cannot swallow anything, this baby will also vomit on its first meal. So vomiting on first meal. And here we cannot also pass the nasogastric tube. Nasogastric tube cannot be passed. But there is something different. Here, the lower part of their esophagus is attached with the trachea. So there is a channel between the trachea and esophagus. So if the baby inhale, the air can go to this portion of esophagus, and ultimately this air can go to its stomach. So what we will see in this condition? We will see the air is present in stomach. Stomach contain air. This air was not present in pure type because there was no connection between there and there. So air from trachea cannot be moved into this lower part of the esophagus, but here it can. So we will see air in stomach, and stomach content such as hydrochloric acid, this can also backflow through the esophagus up to this trachea. So in trachea there will be some gastric acid present, and this gastric acid will irritate the trachea and it will cause bronchoconstriction. And as there is bronchoconstriction, there will be laryngospasm, and because of laryngospasm, the baby will develop second-degree cyanosis. So, secondary cyanosis from laryngospasm. Now here we come to this type, H type, or pure tracheoesophageal fistula. That it is pure tracheoesophageal fistula because fistula is present from this upper side, and fistula with the trachea is present from also this lower side. So what will be the effect Yeah. So in this type, we will see mild polyhydramnios. Mild polyhydramnios, because it can swallow some degree of its amniotic fluid, but not all, but not as a normal. So there will be mild polyhydramnios, and there is a chance of vomiting. On first meal, and nasogastric tube. It will be hard for us to pass the nasogastric tube between them because there is a fistula present. So nasogastric tube passage is hard, or it is complicated procedure. But what we see confirmatorily, as there is a fistula present between the trachea and esophagus, so when the baby inhale, the gas can be moved to the stomach through this fistulated esophagus. So we can see air in stomach, and just like this esophageal atresia with esophageal fistula type, gastric content like gastric acid also can regurgitate back into the trachea from stomach. Because of stomach acid present in the trachea, there will be laryngospasm, and this laryngospasm will cause secondary cyanosis in this baby. So this is our discussion about tracheoesophageal abnormalities and their effect on clinical features. So there is a X-ray of a baby with a tracheoesophageal fistula, and this tracheoesophageal fistula, and from this X-ray we can see this black appearance that is present in his stomach, and also the mild black present in their intestine. So this presence of this black means the stomach is filled with gas. So we can see that the gas is present in this baby's stomach, and we can confirm it by doing a X-ray, and we can find this gas in his stomach only in the condition when the trachea is connected with the lower part of esophagus. There is the trachea, and lower part of esophagus, when attached with them. We can see that in esophageal atresia with tracheoesophageal fistula, this type, or we can see this type of gas in a baby in H type, when the lower part of esophagus is also attached with the trachea. Thanks for watching.